Greetings everyone and welcome back to bannersonthewall.wordpress.com for this Building the Herd about George Norcliffe. So, another player back in Basingstoke. Jordan Lauday, Alex Metham, Zach Milton already on the docket, and then last week we got Gordon. Gordon's alive and Gordon is back. Now, you have my apologies here for taking a bit of time to get to this, but I'll be honest, the words just wouldn't come. What is there to say about George Norcliffe that we haven't already waxed and opined over time and time again? George Norcliffe is the archetypical player that every team wants. Every hockey team needs that power forward, somebody who will rush to the net, try and make something happen, a guy who will never take a shift off, will always put in 100% effort. A nice, smiley lad who everybody likes because of his work ethic and because he's just a nice guy. What else is there to say about George Norcliffe? It's strange in some ways, isn't it? Because you think about George and he's almost a little bit gone under the radar. In terms of just how productive he is, he seems to just keep popping up and doing things. Certainly on that second line last year with Adam Harding and Aidan Doughty, he was part of the Herd's attack, a forefront arguably in parts of the Herd's attack, that second line. 19 goals, 22 assists, 41 points in 45 league games. 3 goals in the playoff campaign as well. George Norcliffe is a very, very big part of the Herd. And part of me wonders whether he'll be more. I don't know when the time is coming, but I think it will come when George Norcliffe becomes the captain of the Basingstoke Bison. Now, it happened at times last year when a large swath of the team was out with COVID. Norcliffe quite literally had the C taped to his chest on occasions. But for me, George Norcliffe has the potential to become the next big British fan hero of this team. And it's not just because he's a nice guy who smiles a lot and people like him, but a chunk of it is that. It's because in Norcliffe, I see that little bit that I've seen in other players over my time watching hockey in Basingstoke. What we saw in Kurt Reynolds, what we saw in Greg Owen, what we saw in Brad Cruikshank, what we saw in Thomas Karpov, even occasionally we might have seen in a player like a Greg Chambers, but we saw it in Joe Greener, we saw it in Joe Rand, and it's just that little spark that George Norcliffe gets it. He gets what it means to be part of this club. And that's not to denigrate the efforts of anybody else. It's not even to denigrate the efforts of Elliot Dewey, the current captain of the Bison. But what it is that sometimes in a guy, you just see it. Now, the bigger, more important part for Ashley Tate is that having lost Harding to Bristol, and there will be other people who leave as well, that Norcliffe is going to become arguably more important. Last week I talked about Zach Milton and where he, I believe, and I really do believe this, that Milton is on the cusp of being a real legitimate game breaker at NIHL level. Norcliffe may never hit a 60 or 70 point season. 40 points in a campaign for a British forward is pretty impressive. Where Milton is the firepower, Norcliffe is the hand on the trigger. Norcliffe is the guy who's going to drive this club forward a little bit. Now that all sounds massive hyperbole for a guy who's 28 years old. He is not as young as he once was, obviously, even though he's a fair bit younger than myself. But what I'm interested to see in Norcliffe is very different than what I'm interested to see in Milton. Milton is young. Milton is 21. He has got potential bleeding out of his eyes. He should, hopefully, and he will, I believe, push on well beyond the NIHL National Division and be in the Elite League. that chance may well have gone for George Norcliffe. But what George Norcliffe has the potential to be may not be a case of being a Great Britain international. He may never play at the World Championships. What George Norcliffe might be able to do is he might be able to be the face of an organisation by being that guy. And not necessarily the high scorer, but Mr. Do Anything. And that's what George does. I made a mild criticism of Milton's game in the fact that sometimes it felt like he skates around a bit lost. My criticism of Norcliffe's game is he just seems to be so hard on himself. He'll come off the ice and sit on the bench and have a face like thunder. He seems to want to score every single time he's out there. And you know what? If that's the criticism I can find of his game, then great. But he probably needs to be a little less hard on himself. But what is important is that hockey players have fun. And I genuinely believe that George is having fun out there. I am always excited by watching him play because Bison fans will know, and fans of every other team in the National Division will know because they've seen him do it. When Norcliffe picks up the puck and he goes down the wing and he cuts to the middle, if it doesn't go in every time, but it's probably going to go in some of the time. And that is where he is at his most dangerous. That's where he's his most fun. And actually, that's really what I want out of George Norcliffe for 2022-23. Doesn't matter if he has a letter on his jersey. Doesn't matter if he's captain or not, even though I think he would be a brilliant captain of this club when the time comes. When George Norcliffe has fun, we're all having fun. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, the number one source for everything related to the Bison. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/bannersonthewall. Twitter, @BannersOTW is the number one place to keep up with all of our writing, all of the bits and pieces, and all of our coverage from across the Bison and the NIHL National Division and all parts of the NIHL structure. Home as well to the BOTW What's Current stream. We will hopefully have one of those coming up soon towards the end of June, where we will kind of wrap up what's happened since the end of the season. As ever, this is Anthony Russell saying stay safe, and so long till next time.